matters from the Cricket World Cup. Extensive highlights of every single game. The ICC Men's Cricket World Cup. Every evening on Channel 4.
We believe life's better when you know you computer required is eligible. Exit these advised.
Good afternoon. It's me, the Chief High Hegian of Gosford Bay Outdoors, and I am down here on this Sunday afternoon by myself because it's miserable. The weather is mocket. It is dreich. These are the words we use to describe what is, to be honest, normal weather for October in Scotland. I'm up at the campsite area, house is up there, and I can hear the river from here. I thought I'd come down, have a look at the river, have a look at the pond if I can get down there. Also mop up the stairs. I've got a couple of big tarpaulins to go down. I'm going to just maybe hang them from the rafters. I don't know. That big tree that fell that way has been there. That's been there a while. This one is new. The pond has expanded out over to here. Look at this. I'm going to try and jump. Over this. This could be. This could get some hits. Hold on. I'm going to land on my good leg. I'm not going to jump. There we go. Wow, that's quite deep. That's high. It'll be interesting to see what the river's like. I get cut off down here and I get stuck. You can see the river, it's very high. Now I can say that over there, you'll remember where that tree is, there was like an eddy there and it's completely covered up. Also, this has shifted. I mean, it's actually floating. I don't know if you can see that moving. It's actually been shifted over that way. That could, I'm surprised, this is where I fall in, I'm surprised that's not already drifted off. And it may still do that, in fact. It's quite deep there, I don't want to go in. My log. It's probably going to flood someone down the river maybe. This inflow into the pond, that's got to be, if I went in there, I wouldn't be happy, but that's going to be super deep. Not super deep, not like Mariana Trench deep, but very deep. I'm going to get off this bridge as well because it's really slidey. All of this is quite apt because we're going to be talking about boots, footwear at camp a wee bit later on. Won't that be thrilling? The dam that they made a few weeks ago has finally been washed away. This is still the outflow from the pond and it hooks round and it goes under the road and rejoins the main river away over there. But there's another, and obviously the river itself kind of hooks round here and there's a waterfall. We'll go out onto the road and have a look, but you can see under the tree there all that. So normally down here you can't even see the water outflow. It can be flowing, but it's also overgrown, and the ditch, the culvert that it flows through, it's a good maybe a metre to a metre and a half deep, and the water just flows and you don't normally see it, but you can see it now. I'm upstairs and I'm mopping the floor. I've got this tarpaulin. It's not as thick as the previous tarpaulin that I had down, but it is much bigger. It is waterproof. I need to try and suspend it from the ceiling somehow. This is how it works in my mind, but not necessarily in reality. If I can suspend it from the ceiling and then have it sloping down to a point where the water can collect in a bucket, that would be the thing to do. But I don't think that's going to work. I don't think I'm going to be able to get it tied up just. So it's going to be a lot of adjustment. I'm not going to film it because it's going to be tedious and I may swear. See you in a minute. I'll see you in a week. I decided not to hang it up. I would be here for hours trying to hang it up just so that the water flowed into wherever it was that I wanted to float. No, I've just put it down on the ground. I've turned the edges up so the water will hopefully just lie on top of it, and I'll need to mop it up, or we can gather it up, take it downstairs and empty it. I think that might be the thing to do. When there's more people here, I think what we'll do is we'll try and suspend it from the ceiling, but we would need to be very careful how we did that. And also, yeah, it's one of these things that feels like a good idea, but in reality, it's not going to work. So that'll do. You probably can't see it, but there's a sea of blue tarpaulin behind me. This room is about a metre wider than the other room, so the tarp doesn't quite reach to the edges. But I think it will be an improvement on what was here before. I've also noticed that our blue barrel isn't filling up. And this is definitely overflowing, so I think there's a blockage somewhere. I need to check here. So I'm up a ladder, obviously, and this is the inlet of tank number 1. That's ooh, steady. Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, that smells interesting. I think we might need to rinse that out a bit. It's minging. So I've ran it under the tap, well, the blue barrel, and I've given it a good old scoosh with some Jif, whatever you want to call it. Obviously we're not drinking this water, but even with those scooshes, with the volumes here, you could actually probably put a fair bit of Jif in here, it wouldn't matter. But it's cleanish now. Quick visit. Although I did do a lot of mopping, but I didn't film that because you know what mopping looks like, don't you? You don't need to see that. As you can see, that's the campsite. Up there and over here is the pond, and this is the outflow. And there are 2 pipes down in there somewhere under the road coming out behind me. Fairly sure one of those pipes was blocked. If nothing else, a good flood does clear the tubes. There's a rather large puddle up ahead. I may not survive. While I'm gently wading through this puddle, it might be an idea to talk to you about boots. When you go to a mountain warehouse, go outdoors, the temptation is to buy textile, synthetic textile boots. Your options are leather boots, textile, synthetic boots, and that's basically it. Those are your two main options. Now, if you're going to spend money, and if your kid's like 12, his feet this week will be whatever size they are, next week they'll be 2 sizes bigger, so you don't want to waste, you don't want to spend a lot of money on boots. You just don't. So you probably will think, I'll just buy these cheap textile synthetic boots. The problem is they're not very good. They look good, but they're not very good. They're not waterproof. What they are is water resistant, and that's an entirely different thing. In order to buy a pair of fully waterproof textile synthetic boots, the multicoloured ones with lots of stitching, you need to spend a lot of money. You need to spend over £100 and get a pair of Gore-Tex boots, and it's not worth it. You're far better off spending 40 odd quid, 45 quid, and get a pair of Carrymore or high-tech leather boots and a tin of dubbin, a tin of wax. Wear them around the house to break them in, and then rub wax on them and use those. They will be waterproof, they will be sturdier, so if your kid's using knife, axe and saw at camp and something goes wrong, they drop an axe, they drop a knife, it'll just bounce off. Those canvas boots, the textile synthetic ones, not so, they're not good. The pros and cons of each: the textile synthetic boots break in a lot more quickly, so you don't need to walk around in the house with them for a week before you actually use them. Leather boots take a wee bit more to break in. If you're buying boots for a day hike or a camp, wear them around the house before you wear them at camp, otherwise your feet will be uncomfortable. The other thing that happens is people say buy your boots one size too big and then you can get thick socks on. That's a matter of opinion. You don't need to do that. You can do that, but to be honest, I don't. I just buy them the size they are, and if I'm going walking, I do wear thick socks, but I don't really, that's up to you, but I wouldn't recommend it. Go half a size, maybe. But really what you want to do is just get a pair of boots that fit. That's really the skinny with boots. If you're in Mountain Warehouse, which is the closest outdoor shop to where we live, be very careful about their synthetic fibre boots, because they're just not all they're cracked up to be. I just waded through that big puddle there with my leather boots on, and to be fair, these are Berghaus. They were about £130, so they are a wee bit expensive. However, I wear them all the time, and I've had these for like 2 years. When you're looking at the boots, a couple of things to look for. Is there a lot of stitching on the boot on the upper? If there is, that's a problem, because that's where they leak. The tongue. Is the tongue attached to the shoe all the way up to where your foot joins your ankle and your leg? So you want a high tongue. Does that make it? I was going to show you with the boot. I could take my boot off and show you, but I'm not doing that. If you get a boot with a high tongue, you can wade through deep puddles. You will never get that with a pair of textile boots, unless you've spent 130 quid and you've got Gore-Tex textile boots. So that's the skinny with boots. I will put in some pictures, that's what I'll do in the edit, because we have the power. I'm down by the ford, which you may have seen in the background as I've been gabbling on about shoes. I'm not going to wade through this, because it's quite deep. That ford thing there is saying that it's, what, 1.5 feet? There's a tree there, so it's saying 2 feet deep. That'd be about right. Very fast flowing though. Let's go over the bridge. I feel like Indiana Jones. You can see the tongues of my boots come up to here, so I can wade up to here. My feet are quite dry. Something to look for if you're buying boots. As a rule as well, in case your feet do get wet, it's a good idea to bring plenty of dry socks. One thing I would say about textile boots, synthetic textile boots, is they do dry out more quickly. But I would have said, I was going to say I'm no expert, but it's probably not what you want to hear really from someone that runs an outdoor organisation. The point is it's probably better to not get wet feet in the first place, and you've got a far better chance of that with leather boots than with synthetic boots. The other thing I was going to say is if you've got synthetic boots and you've just bought them, you can wax them. It'll make them look terrible, but you can wax them. Just get dubbing on, rub it into all where the stitches and the seams are, rub it all over, and then let it set, and your shoes will look terrible, but they will be 10 times more waterproof. The river actually splits in two. Part of it comes this way and part of it goes that way into our grounds, and you can see that up there. That's we could go whitewater rafting. I hope you find the chat about boots useful. You wouldn't want to be sending your kids to any camp, any outdoor experience with the wrong footwear. It can really ruin the day, ruin the weekend. So if you've got any questions, get in touch. Leave a comment, send a message, get in touch on Instagram, have a look at our website, www.gosfordbayoutdoors.scot. And now I'm going up the road. Might get some chips, maybe in Jedburgh. Yeah, there's no children here for me to have to justify chips to, or buy them chips even. I might do that. See you next week.